There's a sight you don't see very often on this walk. I'm walking in Brimpton. Walking in Brimpton, as Mark Cohen never sang. There's a farmer's field to my right, and there's swans. Well, of course, usually the swans wouldn't be there. It'd be a field full of something growing, but it's just flooded. We have 90-something flood warnings in the UK at the moment. And it's rained every single day. Did somebody say since the start of the year? It feels like it. Neil, you're starting with a rain forecast again, I know. And it's not raining at the moment. So, small mercies. Let me get a picture of the path where I am so I can show you a sketchbook photograph. Here we go. Just the path ahead of me. It's quite lush, actually. The greens are good. That's for sure. Right, here we go. Got my trusty X100V, 500 ISO. It's still a bit blur as far as the light goes. F4, 125th shutter speed, and there we go. A sketchbook photo to start the show.
Today on the Photo Walk.
In the beginning, it should be like this. I was just like photographing everything and you know, thinking, oh, that looks like an interesting idea. And, you know, watching another YouTube video, thinking I've just got it sorted, and then watching a YouTube video and saying, oh, well, I just need to go out and spend a load of money on that lens now. And
that's a good way to really get started. Go to busy places where you will blend in. It's much easier to blend in. And then also, nobody minds being photographed in most events. And there are plenty of people walking around with cameras.
Valérie Jardin and Gary Williams, our two feature voices on the show today. Street and reaching a milestone are the topics. That's what they are. You know, what keeps this whole thing tickling, this podcast alive, are the little to large observations of life you send in. Thoughts that arrive on a walk, moments that happen with a camera in your hand, or sometimes even when the camera stays in the bag. But you still notice stuff, or you decide to share stories about your life instead. And there's been some amazing stories over the last couple of months coming in, so thank you. Keep sending them in to stories@photowalk.show. This show exists to give your thoughts a place to be so that others can learn or even think, I had no idea somebody was thinking or going through that as well. It really is nothing more complicated than that. And so thank you so much for these incredible, thoughtful and very emotive letters that you're sending in. Emotional. Last week was certainly one of our more thought-provoking shows, wasn't it? It went from what actually is a photograph, that conversation being with the fine art photographer and philosopher Steven Seidenberg, to the letters, and one in particular about autism and the darker parts or moments of life where art, and I'm talking more specifically about photography, can play such a meaningful role in mental well-being or mental health. Not a cure, no, but that way of helping people make sense of difficult experiences. And find some, as my friend Mally would say, find some calm amongst the chaos. So this week, I'm changing gears, going a little lighter in places. My two guests are Valérie Jardin, back for her monthly visit for Teach Me Street. 2 letters with photographs to talk about and learn from in terms of street. And then Gary Williams. Now, I don't really make a feature of weddings on this particular show. It is windy today, by the way, so if you occasionally hear the whoosh noise, that's what's going on. If you don't get rain, you get wind. You're never happy, Neil. Well, I'm a photographer talking about weather. You can never be happy. So yes, Teach Me Street, and then Gary Williams. Yes. So we don't make a big feature or of weddings as such, because in many respects I do that on the other show that I present with Kevin Mullins called the Fujicast. But I know there are those who listen who do practice the art or the discipline or whatever you want to call it, genre, and some who do it as something on the side. With other art forms or genres, and Gary is one of those. Although I think you're about to find out, it's turning into far more of a photographic job than he was expecting. He's a professional singer, is Gary Williams. He's sung at get this, Buckingham Palace. and many other stages that are world famous, including Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London, which is where the late Martin Parr, a national institution in photography here anyway in the UK, photographed him playing. Actually, Gary, it turned out, I didn't know this at all, knew Martin Parr really very well. But Gary also, over the last couple of years, has been photographing city weddings. The shorter kind, mainly, in some of London's very famous town halls. And these London town halls are often the place where the celebs hang out for their weddings in London. In the 70s, Paul McCartney married Linda in one of our famous town halls in London. Mick Jagger married Bianca. In the 80s, Diana Ross got married in, was that Islington? In the 90s, names like Jarvis Cocker, Jude Law, not to each other, I might add. The noughties, up to date, names like Lily Allen, Keira Knightley, Noel Gallagher, Ed Sheeran. So yes, it's quite for the rich and famous, getting married in a London town hall is the place to be. So the steps of places like Islington Town Hall, which is one of our famous ones, are always a place to peer at and take a second look. Should a wedding be appearing from the double doors if you ever pass by? And Gary has made, I think, perhaps by accident or design, I really didn't ask that, I should have done, a very fine business from what is known as the micro wedding, atop the longer ones too, here and there. But the reason we're talking about weddings is I am fascinated to find out from someone who has made photography very much more their career, alongside his singing, but also he's hit a milestone. 2 years, 100 weddings. And I was very keen to learn from a normal, if you will, sorry Gary, but you know what I mean, a normal, very talented normal, newish in terms of professional photographer. I was very keen to learn about the process. And so yes, from the philosophy of last week to the streets with Valérie, and to an extent Gary, I suppose, as I use a cricket phrase to start the show, who is 100 not out.
I don't think there's any sort of special secret to what you put on your website or trying to get work. I mean, I think, as in life, just be nice and genuinely helpful.
It will come to the point where the fear of not getting the shot will become bigger than the fear of getting it.
Every time I'd have 2 seconds of downtime, I'd just start looking at Instagram and then get sucked into the algorithm of looking at either lovely wedding photography or hamsters playing the banjo.
So always be aware, you have to do that dance that street photographers do, just a little one step to the left, one step to the right, just to make sure that your subject stands out and doesn't have distraction in the background.
Just being nice and being helpful does sell. It works. And if you're just focused on closing the deal, I don't think it does work.
Valérie Jardin and Gary Williams, my guests on the Photo Walk today. Along the way, I'll also be reading your letters, the moments and meanderings you've sent in about life and what you notice when you head out with a camera. It's a show shaped just as much by you as the wonderful guests who speak with me every single week. I'll dip into the mailbag in a moment and give you a taster of what's going to be on the show. I want to say, first of all, a big proper thank you to the Patreon members of our community, the Extra Milers. Without you, this show simply would not be here week after week, so thank you. Each week there's an extra show available through Patreon, or the Extra Mile as it's called, which this week features more from Gary Williams. 5 big learnings in the last couple of years of starting a photographic business. But I think they're 5 learnings that are actually just as much human as they are photographic. And a thank you for our sponsor, arthelper.ai, built for photographers like you and I who want to sell our work but just don't fancy spending our evenings wrestling with captions and mock-ups and marketing emails, and frankly going skidoodly trying to understand it all. Art Helper handles that side of stuff so you can get on with making the pictures in the first place. So if you've ever thought about selling your work and stalled at the "where do I start" bit, this smooths that out. You can try it free for 30 days with the code PHOTOWALK when you go to arthelper.ai. Right, on the show, I have some news about the next month as far as this show goes. Some very special editions to come, actually. And for extra milers, make sure you pack your passports for one particular feature. From the mailbag today, Sven, who might officially be the other listener, well, the one in Switzerland at any rate, is trying to lose the imposter syndrome character on his shoulder. Gene Westberg is wondering if he missed a photographic trick during the pandemic. Jussi Jaskalainen is on a hike in northeastern France. Sounds very nice. Adriano Henny shares what he loves about Venice. And there's a moment of Spike Milligan's silliness, or at least an ode to him from the Doctor of Reflection, Robin Chun. Spike, by the way, was a very irreverently brilliant, sometimes complex comedian who loved absurdity. Park that thought for when he's mentioned next today. So, shall we walk? Checklist out. Coffee? Check. Garibaldis? Check. Dog treats? Yep, check. Walking boots? Check. Have you got some spare film or maybe an extra SD card? You never know how lucky you're going to get with those pictures today. Check. Let's walk. I've walked half a mile up this path, only to find out that, oh, there's a robin. Don't move, stay there. Pip, pip, pip. Oh, beautiful. I haven't got the right lens on my camera, really, but are you playing? You're just following me along. Well, that's a nicer sound in the background. We got the sheeps. As, who calls them the sheeps? We got the sheeps next door. Oh, what's his name? Off that farming show, Jeremy Clarkson. And we've got little Robin following me along here. Yes, I know, we're talking about you. Can you hear him or her? There we go. Keep singing. And in the background, unfortunately, we have got they're doing some tree felling. So I'm sorry about that. Try and filter that bit out. That proves it's a real walk with all the foibles of things you're not sometimes expecting. Let's start with the letter. Slightly mailbag heavy this week for reasons I will come back to after the first letter of the week, which is from Sven in Switzerland. Though I don't know your surname, Sven, because, mainly because you've got an email address that is just wonderfully us, in that you've embraced the whole other listener thing, which I love. The email address is all one word here, your other listener at, and then the rest of it. Anyway, this is a note about our Here and There feature, where I'm joining up for 2026 two listeners in different parts of the world, two photographers, 2 pictures per month is what I'm asking for, and it all started a good few weeks ago now when we were talking about digital photo, pen pals really. Anyway, says Sven, Dear Neil, yes, that's right. It's me, your other listener. I've been enjoying your podcast for years, every single one of them, but never quite worked up the courage to write. Mr. Imposter keeps whispering that I have nothing useful to contribute. How dare he, Sven? I'm going to send you a glass jar with a big postcard so you can trap it. Put the postcard underneath, then release it in a field 100 miles away, somewhere it can't find anyone else. Oh, here's the sheeps. Or the sheep. Oh, look, beautiful. Please feel like you can join in whenever you wish. Is he talking to us, that human? Becoming an extra miler, says Sven, would be the logical next step, of course, and putting virtual pen to paper feels like the first nudge in that direction. Well, without sounding like a plug for the patron part of our survival, Sven, I look forward to welcoming you aboard. My faithful version of your Sabarkalot, Tony the Schnappendoos, and I love having your company on our daily wanderings. No Barney this week, even though I did say dog biscuits, but that was more for you really, Sven, for your walk than my one today. It's another really sopping day, so I've done a drier walk with him and I've come out on the photo walk myself, just recording. But yeah, my faithful Tony the Schnappendoos, and I love having your company on our daily wanderings. His wilder days are well behind him now, though, and we genuinely never know who'll be quicker on the home stretch, him or our 150-year-old tortoise. Oh, neighbours, 150 years old. Blimey, that's been passed down through generations. Or they're just very old neighbours. When you mentioned the idea of photo buddies sharing a photograph each month, I thought, what a lovely idea. But Mr. Imposter immediately countered with, "Nobody wants to see your photos." And he may well have a point. Sven? Still, I'd like to give it a go. I'm approaching 60 at alarming speed. Me too, Sven. We seem to be speeding up, even though the chap in the mirror insists he's still 29. Sven, did you listen to the Reflections channel last week? Because this is exactly the age that I thought I was signed up for life to be. Or was it 28? 28 or 29? I can't quite remember now. After 25 years in the Netherlands, my wife, our youngest daughter and I moved to Switzerland for work, and we're really enjoying life near Basel. Photographically, I'm drawn to the Czech masters and much of what comes out of Japan, and I do adore colour, provided it's strictly black and white. I like your humour. I did have to read that twice, Sven, but it brought out a wry smile, so I hope I might be deemed sufficiently qualified to join your illustrious circle of talented pen pals in the feature Here and There. All the best from Switzerland, and many thanks for all the hours we've walked, Sven. So, Sven, you'll know by now that I have introduced you to somebody, and I think you two will have the same humour. Jim Kuzman in Ohio, in America land. You two are going to be swapping 2 pictures a month or more. I've said, actually, as the emails have gone out to introduce the those that have been partnered up for this, that if you have your own set of rules that you want to play by, that's absolutely fine. It really is. I wonder whether this is going to be a carpet of bluebells. Bluebells, or what's that noise? Can you hear that? Oh, I'll walk that way. Let's hope it's not a big beast. But I think you two are going to get on pictorially very well, and I'm going to check in with you both later in the year to see how things are going. So good luck. Here and There now. I am going to close it now. If we get a few mails in, a few more that, "Oh, I'm late, Neil, I meant to do this," then that's fine. But apart from that, I think we've got, well, I'm working at the moment on sending emails to our 30th, possibly more, actually, photo partnership. So, it went really well. Jade Lee was responsible for this. So, Jade, if you're listening, thank you. Cracking idea. Right, let's find this beast. I've just got an X100 to protect myself with. I'm not sure that'll do much. I did say a moment ago it's a mailbag week this week. It's not totally mailbag. We've got 2 guests, of course, but more mailbag heavy, if you will. I'm going to march through some letters as over the next 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I have some specials I've recorded that cover the time I am away in Austria, then Bangladesh, then India, with a little bit of UK in between some of those times. There's been a lot of working behind the scenes, you know. So here is what's happening. Next week, the start of a 2-part series where I walk with Giles Penfound, my dear friend Giles, for a very special tribute walk. Giles is one of my dearest friends in the photographic world. I've known him now for over 2 decades. I think I've known Giles for the same time that I've been married, I think, or thereabouts, possibly the same time. I think, Giles, we should have our anniversary. Where are we going? Would you like to come to Venice? Anyway, where was I? Yes, I've known him for a long time, and the show we make across 2 weeks is about a few things, actually. It's a tribute to a friend of this community, the late Dennis Lee, who passed at the start of the year. Giles and I go in search of a huge American redwood to make one picture on a 5.4. But while we're there, we have a chat about life, the universe, the chops and changes he's made in his life over the last few years, and how to shoot large format. There are some serious moments, some silly moments, and everything in between.
And so within this beautiful forest, there is a grove of American redwoods. And in particular, just off from the grove, is a huge American redwood.
Oh, is it the one on the crossroads?
That's it. Yes, yeah.
Oh, the amount of times I've walked past it.
It's massive, and I've wanted to photograph it for years. Never seen the picture. Never had the right or reason for making the photograph.
Yeah.
And then when you said you wanted to do this program, I came out yesterday for a bit of a recce, and I had a look, and I thought, well, that's what we're going to do.
So yes, they are 2 gentle weeks being out in the forest, making one photograph across 2 weeks. Oh, thanks very much. Something's just gone down my back from the tree. Nice, thank you. So that's episodes 520 and 521. 522 and 523. Welcome back to other friends, actually. Episode 522 in a few weeks' time, 3 weeks. We're setting sail to Antarctica with National Geophotographer David Wright, who kept his promise to come back and share some thoughts about his wonderful adventure across the Drake Passage to one of the most extraordinary places on Earth. A bit of a stormy voyage.
You know things are getting bad when one of the crew comes along with a big wrench and closes the porthole and bolts it closed. It's like, okay, something bad's about to happen.
Then episode 523, a good friend of the show is back, David Duchemin, the wildlife photographer and mentor, but this time he's going to talk about, I'm sure we'll talk about wildlife, but he's going to talk about the art of the website and blogging or journaling your thoughts.
Yes, social is important for some people, but I think increasingly social is not scratching the itch for, consumers of media, because we're getting fed so many advertisements and the algorithm is everything. But also for those of us who are concerned about, and I'm going to try desperately to avoid the term content creation, because I like to think I create more than just content. I actually think content creation it's in the same category as the word influencer. We don't need more influencers. We need leaders. We need people that think and feel their way through life and share that and create good art. We need neither content nor no one who wakes up and thinks, you know what I need today? My life is desperately lacking in content.
And of course, while I'm away, there's a chance to record, or we will be recording, an India special and a Bangladesh special. There is also, for the extra milers, I'm hoping this will work out, because one of the shows I'm hoping to upload while I'm in Bangladesh will be an extra mile. A travel journal, actually, as I go on a recce for a future workshop we may be doing. But I am on this workshop myself, actually. I'm workshopping in Bangladesh before we run our own adventure week. More than a week, isn't it? In India. So very much looking forward to that. GMB Akash is our guide in Bangladesh. And he's a Bangladeshi photographer whose work centres on the day-to-day of life in the country, giving people without voice agency. So the stories he tells are often stories about labour, displacement and survival, but he's not the kind of photographer that photographs for shock or spectacle, and it's going to be fascinating getting to know him. So yes, there'll be a photo walk show recorded in Bangladesh, but there's going to be an actual travel log, hopefully, if everything works out and the internet behaves itself where it needs to. So there we go, busy month ahead. Plenty to listen to. My other listener has asked to remind you that Reflections continues as well during that period. It has its own channel, so go to your favourite app, look up Reflections, and you'll find Monday through Friday thoughts about this thing that we love, photography. This week's episodes include The Generosity of Joel's on Monday, How Very Dare You?, which is all about AI photography on Tuesday. There's an influencer in the house on Wednesday. Bit of a personal story, that one. Yesterday was how our screens rewired our brains, and today's is called Milestones. So 5 sets of thoughts, 10 minutes or so each time, and it's on the podcast called Reflections. Right, housekeeping to cover the next month. I can tick it off the list. I should have had that on the checklist, shouldn't I? Note to self, next time, put that stuff on the checklist now. Will do. What are these going to be? Are these going to be snowdrops or bluebells? Bluebells, snowdrops? But I tell you what, along this path there's going to be a carpet. I'm going to miss them because I think they're ready to do their thing. It's too early for bluebells, isn't it? And actually the weather hasn't been right. So these have got to be snowdrops, haven't they? It is snowdrops. Am I going mad? Doesn't sound right in my mind now. Anyway, rescue yourself, Neil. Before our first guest this week, one from a letter from Jean Westberg. By the way, before I read this, I do recognise the fact that people's pandemic experiences are very, very, very different from each other. Mine, for example, well, mine took my business away. Thanks very much. COVID, oh, you're welcome. But, and the but is very important, I did not lose a loved one. And so I always think it's worth mentioning that because I know our pandemic experiences are really very, very different. A friend of ours the other day, he didn't realise he was saying it, but we went to see it was a comedy night last Friday, I think. Yeah, comedy night. And we went out, the four of us. It was adults' night out. Blimey. We went out and we watched this comedy night. And in the car, we were talking about the pandemic. I can't remember why we got on to it, but we were. And he said, it was possibly the best thing that could have ever happened for our business. We made loads of money, really rescued it. And I don't think he fully appreciated really that while some people were rolling in it, other people most certainly weren't. And I'm not just talking about business there. I'm talking about the whole process of what it brought to us, either health or otherwise. Anyway, Neil, says Jean, I'm currently listening to Photography Daily. My word, Jean, you have gone back a long way in this podcast. And the early episodes have taken me down a path I didn't realise I'd missed. The opportunity of COVID-19, of course, it was called Photography Daily, this show, and then it became The Photo Walk. Rebranded. Going through my archives, I realised I photographed very little from 2019 to 2021. As I've mentioned before, we live in the country, so we were mostly isolated from crowded areas. And so we didn't fear the virus as much. We just stayed home. On those occasions, when we interacted with society, we did mask up and social distance, but for the most part, the pandemic had little effect on how we lived our lives. The great regret for me was not recognising the opportunity the pandemic actually offered. This was, one hopes, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to recall the empty streets and shut-up shops that were the result of these lockdown orders. But recognising the opportunity, my son and his friends took their skateboards and rollerblades to the Las Vegas Strip, where they had the roads completely to themselves. I can't imagine that. I mean, I visited it last year when I passed through the town, the city, the place, on my west to east coast drive, but I can't imagine it with no traffic at all. Imagine the empty Vegas streets as a skate park, he says. Had I been thinking, I would have gotten some once-in-a-lifetime images. I guess my point is, we as photographers miss a great many unique photo adventures when we don't recognise the greater opportunity at the time. We can't all go on these adventures like to the Gambia or Venice or the Scottish Highlands in search of unique images, but the photographers you interview help point out ways for us to be more creative in our current surroundings. They do, Jean, they do. We can tune in to our local media and join community events. We can attend concerts or school sports, walk with protesters, or find local artists and record what they create. The opportunities are out there if we think outside the box a bit. I might have to give you a yellow card for thinking outside boxes. Just a bit of a ramble, but thanks for listening. Jean, it's always a pleasure when you write in. I like a ramble, so thank you for that. You're right. Ears to the ground, eyes focused on what could be ahead, is what you're saying, isn't it? So slight departure from the norm today. We don't talk, even though it's an industry I know well, we don't talk much about weddings, which is, I think, a much maligned genre of photography. And so today I thought we'd talk about it. unashamedly. And I'm going to do that through a friend of the show, Gary Williams, who has just passed a bit of a milestone. And that's why I like this story. His 100th wedding photography gig. And even if it's not a genre you're into or likely to try, I know there are some people that say, oh, I can't imagine anything more nerve-wracking. I think Gary has a wonderful perspective of life behind a lens. And if you are an extra miler, there is a fabulous treat for you today from Gary when he gives his 5 best learnings from 2 years a professional. Anyway, let's hear from Gary Williams about this milestone. Photography is made of anniversaries and numbers, and you reach levels. In 1, you've done 1, the first shoot of something, then 10, then you've reached 100 weddings. So, well, first of all, Gary, applause and my congratulations.
Are you going to press a button to give us applause, or did we just, is it imaginary?
You have to imagine it, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm picturing it now.
I have quite the budget.
Is it polite applause or sort of,
no, it's a rapturous applause because I think getting
lovely.
to 100 weddings, that first, well, I numbered all mine. I've numbered them from the day I started. I know every single wedding I've done. And I remember getting to the 100 thinking, oh, bloody well done. Because how
did you feel when you got to 1,000? Oh. Can somebody pass me a chair?
I checked myself into a foot spa.
Why?
Take the
Why am I still doing this?
Take the little fish out. Could you put the piranhas in? It was, well done, because getting to 100 in wedding terms, particularly now, actually, in this climate, this business climate, is not an easy thing to do. How long has this taken?
Well, actually, it took almost exactly 2 years. So it was quite funny because
I'm sorry. Whoa. You are a professional singer.
Yes.
You are not always in the country. You spend time out in other places. How the devil have you done 50 a year?
Yeah, well, it wasn't quite. I think the first year, well, actually, the second year was about 70. So the first 12 months was about 30. So let's call it a slow start.
Right.
And I mean, I do, it is an achievement, and I felt really chuffed about it and quite proud of myself. And it was just nice to think, oh, that's a nice sort of marker, you know.
Yeah.
I should also say that it's not quite as impressive as it sounds, because I live a 10-minute walk from Islington Town Hall. And what I've found, this was sort of, I didn't start with any particular plan. It was just, I just want to shoot weddings. But I found that my sort of niche, it's not really a niche, but my thing has become shooting quite short town hall weddings. So most of the weddings that I do are, well, many of them are just 2 hours minimum coverage.
Micro weddings is what they call them.
Micro for me, because that's just a wedding, because that's my normal wedding, right? So that's a wedding.
Yeah.
The average, I looked at the weddings that I've got in for this year, and the average time is about 3.5 to 4 hours.
Okay.
So of course there are some big full day things, but many of them are 2 hours. So it's not unusual for me to do 2 a day. And that might sound a bit mad, but it's really not, because, you know, I can walk to Islington Town Hall, do a 2-hour wedding in the morning, I can go home, have lunch, and then I can, you know, get on the bus or a bike even and go to Camden Town Hall, which is not far away, and do another one, and then still be home for dinner, you know. And I love it, actually. I love those short weddings. And as the time has gone on, I've really kind of leaned into that, because to me, when I first started, wedding photography is, when I think about wedding photography, I picture, you know, a couple in front of a grand stately home and beautiful golden hour light and, you know, and all that.
Yeah.
And I was really keen to get those kind of photos in my portfolio when I first started, because that's what a wedding is. That's what people want to see. And, you know, I pay for advertising on various wedding platforms. Mm-hmm. And I used to live in Hertfordshire years ago, and so I sort of focused on that. And I have done, and I have still got some in the diary in Hertfordshire. But actually, I'm slowly stopping that and only doing
the shorter ones.
London, mostly town hall weddings. There's lots of churches in London as well, but just concentrate on smaller weddings, because they really suit me. I don't own a car, so if I go out of town, I have to hire a car. and it's a long day as it is, and maybe it could be a 10 or 12 hour day, more with the traveling. I mean, it's exhausting, you know, and it's much easier for me just to do a couple of hours in the morning, a couple of hours in the afternoon, and it's not that much difference in money, really, because there's a certain sort of base price. You know?
I wonder, there's a barrier to entry mentally for a lot of people who say, I wouldn't shoot a wedding because I can't stand the idea of being somewhere for 10 hours in a day. And
anywhere for 10 hours in a day.
Anywhere for 10 hours in a day. But these micro weddings, I believe it's becoming a trend that people are booking less hours for weddings. I have noticed that the mails that come in generally are, could you quote for 6 hours or 8 hours? We just want you to do a couple of shots during the ceremony and then some on the steps afterwards. That's all we need. And in the past, when I was doing a lot of weddings and it was very much the cut and thrust of my daily work, I would have thought, oh God, really? But now I'm like you. I'm quite enjoying that. Turn up, do it. Haven't yet had a day where I've never in my entire 1,000 wedding career had a day where I've done 2 on the same day. That hasn't happened.
Well, but you wouldn't be doing 2 10-hour weddings in the same day.
No. But if you were doing the micros like you are.
Yeah, but if that's what you did, I'm sure you would be doing those. And also, I mean, to make that work, do you know what I've lived in Islington for 20 odd years.
So for those that don't know, Islington is part of is northern borough of London.
Yeah, and pretty sort of central. There's a lot going on. It's a busy, very busy borough. Yeah. And I sort of, I took it for granted, but it's just, well, I suppose I did take it for granted. I just didn't really think about it. It's just where I lived. And it was only as I started to do more of these town hall weddings, I thought, actually, this is something I can really exploit, because a lot of wedding photographers, they live out of London. Yes. And so if they're doing a wedding at Islington Town Hall, it's a bit of a thing. It may be going to take them an hour and a half maybe to get in, and driving's a problem, parking's expensive. To make this work, to do the sort of 2 a day, I think it helps. You've really probably got to live quite centrally in a busy city. Otherwise it would be tricky. I did 3 in a day once. That was a bit much.
But you're right about the for me in terms of costing. So I live west of London, not a long way. It doesn't take long to get in. But if I take my car to Reading Station, but there's petrol to start with straight away. Then you park up. Now Reading Station, whoever set the they were genius obviously in business. Whoever set the parking rates there, because you can pay 28 quid for a day, and then you got the fare. If you take the slow train and you're not allowed to take the big boy train, then that might cost you 30 or 32 quid, is it now? So you're doing £100 before you've even pressed the shutter, almost, with food. Mm-hmm. You are.
And then, petrol, maybe some sandwiches or a coffee and all that stuff adds up as well, doesn't it?
Well, when you go to London, I said, I have to be very careful. I never seem to have a loose change of 540 quid for a cup of cappuccino. I mean, it's an expensive place, as any big city is. So you're right. I think if you're doing the micro weddings, you probably need to live very close to a metropolis that does them. A Manchester, a Birmingham, a London.
And when I started, you asked I think you asked, how have I managed to do all of these weddings? And a huge thing, which I still do now, is basically reaching out for and paying for help. And our mutual friend, Kevin Mullins, was a tremendous, he mentored me for quite a long time. And I loved Kevin's work. I still do, of course. And I thought, when I grow up, I want to be like Kevin Mullins.
No, you don't.
And, well, you know him better than I do. No, you know what he smells like.
No.
But our meetings were just
You're much fitter and far better looking.
And, but I haven't done 1,000 weddings yet. So, check back in with me then. And, that was just so helpful. And just because you're sort of short-circuiting the route, right? It's just like, well, how do you do this? And just being able to get it straight from the horse's mouth as to what's the best way to do this, and it just saves so much wasted time and money. And I've continued to I think it's the best way to the best investment for any photographer, for me anyway, I can speak personally, is mentoring and just, well, I suppose even if it's just one hour session with an expert, because I learned a lot from Kevin. And I was sort of trying to shoot like Kevin. And then I'd see someone like Neil Redfern from Flash Masters and doing all of this really cool flash stuff, these sort of silhouettes or whatever. And that looks really cool. I want to do that. So learn how to do that and started doing that. And it's only by doing these things that you sort of actually realize for yourself what you like and what you don't like, right? Yeah. What do I really want to do? And I would say after 2 years or 2.5 years or so it's now, I'm just about figuring out who I am as a photographer, the kind of stuff that really resonates with me. And because in the beginning, as it should be like this, I was just like photographing everything and thinking, oh, that looks like an interesting idea. And, watching another YouTube video, thinking I've just got it sorted, and then watching a YouTube video and saying, oh, well, I just need to go out and spend a load of money on that lens now. And that'll fit. Then I'm going to be amazing. Then I'll take photographs like that person. And so I'd go out and buy that lens and try and emulate it. And but I think that's great. I was aware that for that, first period that that's how it should be. That it was a really fun journey. And I feel like I'm slowly getting to a point where I kind of know what I'm doing.
Marketing. So being aware, of course, that we have an international audience, so people will have different websites and magazines and what have you. How have you done it then? Because you said you spent some money, you've invested in marketing or advertising. What have you done? Or is it based on mainly now search engine optimization?
Now, most of my work comes from Google, whether that's SEO or Google Ads. And I do spend quite a bit of money on Google Ads.
Right.
I used to have more. I used to have inquiries from Instagram, from various wedding platforms. Of course, as I've got more expensive, it gets harder.
Yep.
I think if you're quite cheap, it's easy. What I found is, and this has been a relatively recent thing, that I really, like most of us, suppose, I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with Instagram. And I was just really spending just way too much time on it. Just every time I'd have, 2 seconds of downtime, I'd just start looking at Instagram and then get sucked into the algorithm of looking at either lovely wedding photography or hamsters playing the banjo, and before you know it, there's sort of half an hour gone by, and I've just actually started paying for it. I've just finished the trial of an app that does a very good job at blocking it and limiting my time. And I realized that I never really got that much work from Instagram anyway, so I've really backed off from that because it was just really not good for me. It was just taking too much of my time. And now, actually, what I've done with Instagram, it's blocked basically all the time except for 2 30-minute slots. I can access it at 9 a.m. for half an hour and 5 p.m. for half an hour. And I actually set an alarm to tell me to check it. So it's the other way around now. Like, it's not like, I can sort of check it throughout the day or whenever I feel like it. It's like I'm told to check it, which sounds counterintuitive, but that really helps me because I think, it's Instagram. And Sam, my boyfriend, or other people will say, oh, did you get that reel I sent you? And I'm like, I can't see it yet until tomorrow. And I'm fine with that. And I also find that when I go on it now, I'm so not on it that I literally look for 3 minutes. I'm just looking to see if I've got any messages from people. And I look, and that's it. I also find that from Google ads or SEO, the leads I get are really good leads. It's I would end up booking, I want to say like 75% of those leads, those inquiries which come in. And from other places, it's just not like that. And I'm very clear about the kind of way that I position myself in the market and the kind of clients that I'm looking for. And that really helps too, because people are looking for a particular kind of thing, and I'm very obviously that. Like many wedding photographers, I focus on the sort of candid, more natural moments, but I push that very heavily on my site. I say beautiful pictures for people who don't like to pose, and it's very clear that I focus on London town hall weddings. Yeah. So if you're having a wedding, you want it pretty relaxed, you don't want to spend all day posing, and it's in a town hall, it's kind of a no-brainer to at least send me an inquiry, and that really helps.
You made a decision to put pricing on your website, and across different genres, I know people wrestle with this, whether you're a portrait photographer, wedding photographer, commercial photographer even. But you put pricing on yours. You were very clear about it. I suppose that does cut down those that would say, I want someone's 200 quid. Would you do it for that? Was that the reason you did it? Was that the entire reason you did it?
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people I saw the other day that I guess the average price, I mean, people tell you different things, but let's say that a lot of people because people don't really know how much wedding photography costs, right? It's not something they're buying every day. And so they sort of dip their toe in the water as they look around and say, what is this costing? I think many people are expecting to pay maybe between £1,200 and £1,400 for a full day of cover, maybe to do a micro wedding, sort of £300 or something like that. That's roughly kind of half or less than half what I charge. And it's important to me that I think that the conversion rate is quite high from the inquiries because they already know what I charge.
Yeah.
And so it's worth us having a conversation, not just that it's going to be worth my time, but worth theirs as well, right? So, I mean, I often think from the client's point of view, I mean, it must be awful, because photography is just one thing. They've got all these things to organize and have meetings and conversations about. And, if they're having a long chat with me about their wedding plans and their photography and what they're looking for, if I'm not the person they're going to book, they're going to have that same, let's say, 45-minute conversation with somebody else and maybe somebody else as well. And who's got the time for that? Yeah. So if they can, and I think we all like to see it. I mean, I'm much more likely to, browse in a shop if I can see how much stuff's cost, right? If I'm going to feel it's a bit awkward, isn't it? When you see, oh, that's nice. I wonder how much that's cost. And then you've got to ask the owner of the artisan pottery shop, how much is that pot? And they tell you it's £300 and you were hoping it was going to be £19.99. It's kind of an embarrassing thing, right? You have to sort of sidle your way out of the shop. I think it's the same online. People think, oh, this looks great. How much is it? This looks like it might be expensive. How much is it? Oh, that's all right. We can do, okay, let's send this person a message. Yeah. I'd certainly be much more likely to send someone a message if I knew what I was actually inquiring about.
I think that's really, really important. The blog is interesting as well. I spoke recently to a photographer, and the interview will be on the photo walk. It'll either have, because I've got this month coming up of being out a lot, it'll either have been before this episode or after this episode. You could go find it. But we did talk about blogging, and I was interested because the entire interview was centered around what was on his blog. So it was more of a noodle than because he's been on a few times. And the conversation was about, the blog is not dead, long live the blog. You have a blog. I dare say that because of your mentoring with Kevin, he's instilled the interest, or rather the importance in you in terms of that. How difficult is it to keep up with writing and make sure that you're doing that part of your marketing?
I'm going to be a disappointment for you now because I don't really do a lot. I do a bit of that, but I have a blog, but it's not perhaps in the way that
it looks like you keep it up. You've taken the date. Hang on, you've taken the dates off it, so I can't tell when they're being.
Well, I mean, smart. The last one, I do blog every wedding, almost every wedding, but that's not really a blog. It's just the pictures are there, and it's not for sort of SEO. It's just sort of there if people want to have a look. They can see more pictures than are in my portfolio. And if there's something interesting that happens, I put that on there. But I try and only put up there when I've got something actually interesting to say. One thing I have done, since I've really came off Instagram, one thing I do miss is seeing the work of the photographers that I love and like to follow. But what I've done, actually, I've bookmarked their websites and I go and spend time on their websites every few weeks and just have a look. And I prefer that because it's a kind of a slower, more considered way of looking at someone's work. And it's usually going to be on a big laptop screen instead of on a phone. I find Instagram's just a bit sort of shouty and screamy. And I'm not as much as I might love Neil James's photography, I'm not so interested in what he had for breakfast that day. So, not that you do post what you've had for breakfast that day, but if I go to someone's website, I mean, I love looking at websites. I love looking at the work that's, their best work and what they've done lately.
Information is a very important thing. And one of your blog posts here, you talk about, say, the council chamber. And then you've written a bit about Lambeth Town Hall and where the council chamber is, the capacity, the style, whether it has an aisle even, when you can go and get weddings, book yourself in for a wedding. Sounds like you're going for a haircut. Whether it's pet friendly, that kind of information is important. I at the moment, I'm writing for my celebrancy business. A lot of advice on, and I did need to do a few before I felt like I was certainly no expert, but I could write about it. So I now write about grief, or whether, to take children to a funeral or not. Music. relevant music to the person, or the deceased person, and I think that kind of information is really important. That sells you very well.
I don't think there's any sort of special secret to what you put on your website or trying to get work. I mean, I think, as in life, just be nice and genuinely helpful. I mean, the information that I've put on some of those pages, it took me ages to collate that information. It's quite, for a lot of websites for registry offices, they're not very good, and there's it's quite hard. You've really got to dig around to find out, can I bring a pet, or what time should I arrive, or how many people can go in this room, and does that include the photographer or not, and how much time should I allow for the ceremony and so on. But in just trying to be helpful and not salesy, that in effect sells, doesn't it? I mean, that's the way I've tried to do. And also when I'm talking to my couples, if they're considering booking me, of course I want to book the wedding. But I believe just being genuinely helpful is the best way to book it. And if they don't book me, that's also fine. That's all right, And if I sound like I'm being like super, super nice, but it's because it actually works. Just being nice and being helpful does sell. It works. And if you're just focused on closing the deal, I don't think it does work. No. So it's just nice to be nice, and I think it's good business to be nice and helpful.
And my thanks to Gary Williams, who is back on the Extra Mile edition this week, which is our Patreon-only show. You go the extra mile for me, so I go the extra mile for you, and make an extra, slightly shorter show each week, so we can walk further together. And I talked to Gary about his 5 learnings since becoming a pro photographer, although I think these are learnings that flow through being a photographer and human, if you like, full stop. It's a great extra mile today, it really is.
On this week's Extra Mile.
Small goals, never underestimate the power of small little achievements each day which take you towards a bigger goal. So we want to be a better photographer, for example. Well, if I'm just looking at a photography book for 15 minutes a day, it's not much. It's easy to say, well, what difference is that going to make? But those 15 minutes, I don't know what it is, you can calculate it now, but 15 minutes a day over the course of a year, that's quite a reasonable chunk of time. I think a big thing is just be generous and open-hearted. As a singer, I wrote a book called Cabaret Secrets, and it did a video masterclass. It was all about not teaching people how to sing, but teaching people stagecraft, how to put together a show. The strapline was how to create your own show, travel the world, and get paid to do what you love. And when I did that book, there were a lot of people came to me in the industry, my peers, and they were quite upset with me for sharing all of this knowledge. They were like, what are you doing?
You've given the secrets away.
They said, it took us years to figure this stuff out. It's bad enough, it's competitive enough as it is. You're just making this too easy for people. And I completely reject that. And one thing I've loved about the photography world, all genres that I've come across, is that remarkably, I've always found people to be hugely generous with their time and their advice and their help.
So if you like a little more photo walking each week with me, then head to the website, click Extra Mile, or tap the orange support the show button, and you'll find yourself an extra show. In fact, you'll find a whole archive in there of hundreds of shows and features and things. And you'll be part of the Zoom as well, of course. You'll have an opportunity to join us when we do our live Zooms. Your support is what keeps these walks happening. It really is. Look at this, by the way. Look. Can't see out the other side of the podcast, Neil. Well, you can if you look a bit more closely. I love exposed roots and trees, and especially the moss on this. I mean, the rain has obviously helped really make these so lush. Let me get a photograph on my X100. Here we go. Well, I have to be careful how I go up this bank, so I don't want to step on these plants that are about to sprout. Here we go, another one of those. A sketchbook photograph from the walk today. All right, careful down there. So back to your letters. Here's one from Jussi Jaskalainen. Hi Neil, greetings from Finlandia land, by way of Berlinstadt. First, a belated but still very fitting celebration of 500 episodes and more than 5 years with the podcast. If nothing else, and there's still a lot of else, don't get me wrong. It's a testament to your tenacity and work ethic. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed, so I hope you enjoyed the celebratory show, the 500th show. It was somewhat warmer when we recorded that back in the summer. Just to put those 5 years into perspective, says, you see, I started listening roughly late summer 2020. And since then, I do hope I've got the name pronunciation right. I did look it up. In the it was roughly late summer 2020. And since then, I've managed to move to another country, switch jobs 4 times, be technically homeless for a short time, and visit 26 countries across 4 continents. Just goes to show a lot can happen in 5 years. You should know you conducted a whole bunch of interviews, made an incredible number of... Am I going to have to get my sofa to hide behind? Made the sofa of flattery, that is. Made an incredible number of new connections, started a new business venture, and put together a very friendly community for us photo walkers, which really might be the most important part of them all. Well, I do think I'm very proud of the community. I really am that we have here. I truly am. So thank you for that. I will push the sofa of flattery to one side for a moment and and accept your kind words. Anyway, my main topic today, that sounds very formal, is a hiking trip I did with 2 friends last August, back when it was still warm. Do you remember those days? We headed to northeastern France, to Calais, and did one segment of the Pan-European GR routes, a large collection of hiking trails mostly concentrated in Western Europe. We spent about a week there, including recovery days. 1 lens, 1 body, 2 batteries, just to keep the weight down. Boy, you had to be careful. I assume you had places to recharge. Well, not suggesting you plug into a tree, but you might stop at some place that has a charging point. Ever the practical person here. To give you an idea of what it was like, I thought I'd describe it through the sounds that I heard. Oh, now you're speaking my language. The first thing you notice are the seagulls. You see, I don't want to pull you up, but I'm going to. I'm going to be a bit of I don't want to be a pedant, but is that the right word? But they're not strictly seagulls. And the only reason I say this is because I've known them as seagulls all my life. Of course I have, just like everybody has, I would imagine. Until a friend of ours who works in wildlife said, it's not a seagull. So what do you mean it's not a seagull? It's a gull, it's by the sea, it's a seagull. And she said, no, it's not. You can get a herring gull, a black-headed gull. I'm trying to think of other gulls now. White-headed gull? I don't know. But there's no... The seagull is this kind of umbrella term for them, but there's no such thing as a seagull. Just thought I'd mention it, you see, because you might be able to bring that up yourself one day. But we'll go with the seagulls for the moment. They're everywhere, says you see, and they never cease. You don't really understand what they're saying, and maybe that's for the best. Every other sound gets lost under a blanket of their screams. And then there's the ferries, of course, which slowly become more distant as your route takes you further away from Calais. At night, locals set up private drag races with their mopeds. The road traffic ebbs and flows from a distant hum to the frantic soundscape of a seaside town. So you learn to appreciate the quieter lulls, where the wind gently tickles the tree line, or the sand gets crunched up under your feet. One step after another, because eventually that's the only thing you're thinking about. And top of it all, the sea. The crashing of the waves, the surf, the rushing wind, always unpredictable. It's ever there, even if just in the distance. As you lay down for the night, the steady rhythm lulls you to sleep even faster than the day's many miles. Essentially, Neil, this is just my way of thanking you for the past 5 years, hoping to see many more in the future, or here, actually. You see, I think. I've also attached a few photos for your perusal, and website and social links and all that mundane stuff. It's just below. It's not mundane. I'm very pleased to share it. You'll see, I will, of course, include the pictures on the show page. If you go to episode 519, you will find them there. I'm thinking as I've been reading your words here, I'm thinking, shall I put some sound effects in there as if you're hearing them? See, this is a production moment, you see, because that would be quite nice, sort of build it up with some music underneath, gentle music. Or shall I tell you what, no, I'll just let your words can paint the picture, because they were absolutely perfect. That is a letter that is right up my proverbial street, as they unpoetically say. Thank you so much for it. What a fantastic letter. Love that. Love that a lot. A lot. Oh, the birds are singing beautifully today. They really are. You're all wonderful. I wonder what the birds are going to be like in Bangladesh and India. There's always a wonderful different carpet of sounds, isn't there? Is that the right expression when you go to different countries? I often eulogize about the Australian sounds, so the morning chorus, as it were, when I would go out for my walks in Australia. Beautiful. Because, of course, you've got birds that you just don't hear at home, so everything's just wonderful. I remember sitting in a coffee shop one day. Can't remember whether it was a bit further north. Was it... I'm trying to remember now, but anyway, I was sat out in a fairly quiet town, and I had a coffee, listening to this morning coming alive. It was marvellous. It really was. I have another letter from the mailbag in a moment. Actually, totally daft poetry as it goes, a bit of silliness, and Gord, how we need that at the moment. But first up, a word of where we're headed later this year. We are off to Venice in November for our photography exploration of the city, embracing street and contemplative photography, early morning markets before the light comes up. Yes, we are. Bring your alarm clock. And late evening photography into the night. So this is definitely a bring your tripod visit to a place of such mystery. I have a few words from a photographer in a moment, who's made this place, this wonderful place, his lifelong project, and has made a gorgeous book. But first, a few words from my studio self about our adventure from the 26th to the 30th of November this year. Venice shouldn't exist. It's a magnificent mistake. A city built on over 100 islands in a saltwater lagoon by people who were either brilliantly mad or madly brilliant, depending upon your perspective. Around the 5th century, mainlanders fleeing barbarian invasions drove wooden pilings, millions upon millions of them, deep into the marshy seabed. Oak, larch logs, each about 4 meters long, hammered down until they hit compressed clay. These absolute forests of timber, preserved by the lagoon's oxygen-starved mud, still support every single bridge, every basilica, everything that seems to float impossibly above the water. It's all on these. They built it all backwards, really. When sensible cities grow outward from solid ground, Venice grew upward from almost nothing, defying every principle of urban planning with, I think, sheer bloody-mindedness, but exceptional engineering. Winter, when we're going, is when Venice reveals her true character. The summer crowds have all vanished, leaving behind the city locals that actually live there. Early morning fog rolls across empty piazzas, softening the edges of Byzantine arches and Gothic windows. Light becomes something precious, low, golden at times, fleeting. For photographers, it's absolute heaven. The Acqua Alta, the high water that floods St. Mark's Square, transforms the city into its own reflection. It's not a place to miss when you've got a camera. Suddenly you're shooting 2 Venices, one solid and one shimmering beneath your feet. The winter light bounces off water, off wet stone, off ancient glass, creating conditions you simply can't replicate anywhere else. There's no cars to dodge, no traffic to wait for, well, perhaps a gondola. There's just stone, water, light, and 1,000 years of impossible beauty built on sunken forests by people who refuse to accept that you can't build a city on the sea. Turns out, you absolutely can. So looking forward to being back in Venice for our adventure and workshop. It'll be my second visit to this wondrous place. And over the next few weeks on our Extra Mile channel, Adriano Henny, one of our very, 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 very special community members, will be talking about his exceptional book about Venice, which honestly, this book is beautiful. It really is. My youngest son, Thomas, when I opened the book, which was beautifully presented in soft paper as I unwrapped it, just the whole thing was just an incredible experience. I wished I'd filmed it, to be honest. I really do. But my youngest said, oh, look at that! He was so excited about the book. And it's called Beyond the Mask because Adriano has a real love affair with Venice. And though he lives now in the UK, he was born near Venice, so he is no stranger, of course, to the magic. We talked the other day. I recorded a chat with him about his book and the whole process of this book that he's produced. We talked for a good 50 minutes or so, and he had some thoughts about photographing this city that I thought you might like to hear as an early schmuzzle, as they say. Do they, Neil? Yes, I think they do, because he'll be on the Extra Mile. But for those that are thinking about coming to Venice, perhaps this is some food for thought.
My guiding words would be to just go with your eyes open and look beyond the thing that slaps you in the face, and just don't be afraid not to fire off 800 frames. Just stop, breathe, look, wait, absorb. And that, I think, is the way. There is an Italian author called Tiziano Scarpa that wrote a book called Venice is a Fish, Venezia è un pesce, which is a very small book, very thin, but I think you can get it on Amazon in the English translation, which gives a kind of a guide. It's like a guide through Venice, but if you look at the topographical map of Venice, it looks like a flat fish on its side. That's what gave him the idea. If you look at it, it looks like a kind of a fish. Okay. And he interprets walking around Venice as parts of the fish anatomy. So if people want to look at that, it could be quite an interesting, it's quite a short little read, it's quite amusing in bits and pieces, it can give people ideas. Walk around with your eyes open, no preconceptions. Obviously take some classic long exposures. There's a lot to do and a lot to see, so much to see, but I would encourage people to be brave and not to photograph the ordinary.
Food for thought then. Photographic food for thought. Pasta for thought, Neil? Yes, perhaps pasta. Do you I love a good carbonara, and I had the best one in the world last year, the best one ever in Milan last year. So I don't know. Will they do one as well? We shall see. Adriano is on the Extra Mile very soon. All right, last letter of the show time. I thought the other day, I don't know why I received it. I got, because I'm a podcaster, I received an email from a company that sing jingles for shows. And usually I just instantly, it's not the sort of thing that I necessarily want to have on this show. It doesn't feel appropriate, even though I've spent years, of course, in radio playing sung jingles that carry the name of your radio station. But my curiosity was certainly piqued with a capitalized P when I recognized the name of the company making these jingles, because I worked for a very short time at a radio station called Wave 105, and they had this song, Wave 105, don't sing, Neil, sorry. And I loved the package. It was probably one of the nicest sung jingle packages I ever had the pleasure to play. Neil, you need to get out more. We really did used to get excited about that stuff, us presenters, especially if new jingle package came around and you were one of the first to play it out. Anyway, yes, I'm realising I might be coming over just a tad sad. A tad anaraki about jingle packages, but I was just sat there musing with my coffee, thinking, well, the photo walk actually fits into that. The photo walk, and for one moment I thought, oh, because they did have there's some really lovely, soft, very beautiful jingles that were so melodic, and for one moment I nearly pressed return, and sent them a mail, but I stopped. Should I? Would it? Let me know. Would it or would it not? Anything's got to be better than you singing, Neil. Yes, I appreciate that. Right, last letter. This is a little off the beaten track as well, actually. I do like your sideways looks at life that you send in. It's from Robin Chun, or as we know him, Doctor of Reflection. Hi, Neil. Can you say Happy New Year? No, well, I think we're right on the very edge of being able to say that now. Anyway, to you and yours and the team at the Photo Walk podcast, to show my appreciation for the show, I've upped my subscription by an extra mile. Yes, you can walk extra miles within the Patreon subscription. Thank you for that. I did see it and I appreciate it. You are a wonderful man with and without the walking shoes. Anyway, from the Doctor of Reflection, so called, if you look at his photography, you'll understand why. So called because his street work often, he finds anything for Robin is a reflection in waiting. It really is. But it seems with this letter, he's reflecting, and you see what I did there? About life as much as making pictures. Anyway, from Robin. As you're very much into words these days, Neil, I thought I'd share something with you. In me mid-20s to mid-30s, I wrote some poetry. Quite a lot, in fact, although I lent my poems to a family member about 30 years back, and she never returned them. As she's no longer with us, any hope of getting them back is, like her, long gone. Okay. Now, I've reached level 71 in the game of life. I can't recall all that I committed to paper apart from the odd one or two, but I do have one that I can remember from my Spike Milligan period, entitled A Flyer Called Willie. Careful. Dr. Reflection, I do love Spike Milligan. In fact, I will share my fave Spike poem in a moment, but please, yours first. You first. To gild a lily, I cocked a hoop. There's a flyer called Willie who's loop the loop. But Willie said to me, I want to get away and be by the sea. Fishing the streams is what I love, not soaring in the clouds so high up above. I tried in vain to help him in his plight. So I put him out of his misery and shot him late one night. Oh, Robin! But that is classic Spike. It really is. Do you know, if I'd have read that and somebody would have said, who do you think wrote it? I'd have either said Robin Chun, of course, or I might well have said Spike Milligan. But I'll share you my favourite Spikes. It's a short ditty, this one. I think I may have said this before. This should be why I'm going to get a line of T-shirts, some merch. Stop me if I've told you this before, merch. But this is my favourite Spike. I must go down to the sea again, the lonely sea in the sky. I left my vest and pants there. I wonder if they're dry. I know I will have said that to you before. I can feel I have. I'm like a BBC repeat, I am. Annoying but comforting all at the same time. I hope, anyway. Right. My second guest is a returning guest, a monthly guest. Valérie Jardin is back for Teach Me Street. If you would like to take part, because actually we've done very well. We've had lots and lots of pictures in for it. In essence, you send a picture in, a street picture. Candid's probably best because that's really what floats Valerie's boat. Then Valérie looks at it, gives you some thoughts, some creative feedback, some creative thoughts on it. But if you'd like to send them in, then please do to stories@photowalk.show. stories@photowalk.show. In the meantime, from a very snowy Minnesota right now, here is Valérie for this month's Teach Me Street. Well, Valérie, all I could think about was, I'm not with Valérie in Paris. That's all I was thinking about. How did it go? I bet it was amazing.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. 2.5 days. Photographers from 7 countries, including 2 that you knew from July who came back in January.
Who came back? Are you allowed to say which names?
Yeah. Jörg and Elisenda. So Germany and Spain were back.
Fantastic.
And it was so fun. And they loved it. It's funny because we did a lot of the same, we visited some of the same places that they had seen in July, but it's so different. And I think for them, it was actually really good because they already knew what to look for. And they wanted to really dig a little deeper, and they did really well. And it's such a different. It's such a different city, from July to January, and so they really loved it. And I really enjoy January in Paris. It was pleasant weather. It was beautiful, actually.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
We were very lucky.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I was deeply jealous for the entire time you were out there, but we will meet again, as they say, in Paris at some stage.
Right.
I know we will. Right, pictures. Let's get into some photographs. In fact, we've got 5 photographs. I'll start with Sogia Rocco, who calls himself Sam. So Sam has sent, the question first is, I'm quite confident when it comes to street photography now in comparison to when I started in August last year. So this is somebody who's not been doing it long. I feel like there are some photos I want to take, but I can't because of the fear factor. How do I overcome this? We talk about the fear factor, don't we, from time to time. I think, raising the camera to your eye or even putting it to your hip if you're working that way, I think those first few moments can be they can be a little bit awe-inspiring for folk, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. And that's totally legitimate. And that should always remain, because I think it's a good reminder to be extra respectful and everything. So you should always have that little bit of I wouldn't call it fear, but be really mindful. Yeah. And it will come to the point where the fear of not getting the shot will become bigger than the fear of getting it. Yeah. And often, like he did for this pictures, it looks like it was an event, maybe an air show or something. And that's a good way to really get started. Go to busy places where you will blend in. It's much easier to blend in. And then also, nobody minds being photographed in most events. And there are plenty of people walking around with cameras. So to get over the fear, that's a good way to do it. And eventually, get closer and closer and get more intimate type of photographs. That said, that may not be what he is after. Maybe he's more minimalist. Maybe he likes lots of layers and busy frames. And so it really depends what type of street photography he wants to pursue. There's so many ways to do this. And there is a way for everyone. If you're really introverted and shy and worried about being too close to people, well, you can still do it and be a lot more invisible, and it's a lot more anonymous as well, and faces may not be recognizable. There's so many ways to do this that there is something for everyone, I believe. He's
chosen a moment where nobody's looking at him, so that might have been purposeful. And it's a picture of a Spitfire, but it's not. It seems to have blocks of flats behind it, and I thought, what's a Spitfire doing right
that's
next
so strange.
In the middle of a? And then I noticed it doesn't have any props on it, so it's not going anywhere very quickly. But it's an unmistakable shape of the Spitfire, but. But it's an interesting picture because they're all inspecting the aircraft.
Yeah, it seems like they're moving it.
Yes.
So again, that could have been a mini air show or something where there was a crowd. I doubt there was just the one airplane here that just landed, especially without a propeller.
I was going to say,
I don't know. We don't have much of a backstory.
Yeah. I think the story is that this one's not flying anywhere.
That's right. So this would qualify more as a photograph that would work in a series by itself. I mean, it's definitely not something you'll put on your wall. It's part of a bigger picture, maybe a series about that event. So not every photograph will be a story. Sometimes you need a whole series of photographs to really tell a story of an event or a situation, and then you'll have those moments that are really the story in one frame. I think those are the ones we really go after. So just keep working at it. I mean, if you only started in August, it's really, really, really fresh. You're going to need, it takes years and or decades. So I still feel like I just started.
Do you have any nervous days? Are there any days where you think, I'm not quite sure I'm with it today? I suspect you probably don't.
I do, but again, it's good. Sometimes you feel like, hey, I could definitely go after this person, this subject, and get a strong shot. But at this point, I feel it's pushing it, and I don't want to be the pushy photographer. So I refrain myself a lot because I'm not shy. I find that what we do is important, and that's a thing to keep in mind, that what we do is important. As historian, we are documenting a moment of daily life of today, and in 10, 20 years, whenever, some of those photographs will be able to say a lot about the time we're living in now. So that's also one thing to keep in mind. That's why it's so important to do it well and do it respectfully. But you don't want to be that photographer that's just pushing. And it's a good reminder to, if you're starting to feel a little uncomfortable, then chances are the subject may be getting uncomfortable as well. Yeah. And so, just no picture is worth making someone uncomfortable, period. No. Yeah, no matter where you are.
I know you're going to say no, but you did send me some pictures the other day. Not pictures, films. You sent me some films. And I wonder if videos can be street photography as well. I know that you weren't necessarily composing it to sit within a gallery or something, and you were showing me just how bloody cold it is where you live at the moment. But I was thinking, actually, can video be street photography in a way? Am I
don't know.
Stretching the boundaries here?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's a form of documentary as well, of course. But to me, it's so different. It requires completely different skills. Yeah, I don't know.
You should have seen these videos that Valerie sent. Honestly, I had to put another layer of clothing on just to look at them. It's just wrong, the temperatures that you get to. When Valerie said to me just a moment ago, it's warm today, it's -7. I thought, what?
It will be. Warm? It's -15 still as we're talking. But it will warm up. When it's -7, we'll be like, woohoo!
I'm not sure that I think of -15 to -7 as warming up.
It is when it was -35 just a few days ago.
That's a good point. Right, next one is from Scott Glasgow. Now, this one has been hanging around for a while. It shows you just how long we've been doing Teach Me Street, because it was almost this time last year. But don't say anything that he sent this in. Scott will be okay. I know he will. I have two parts, if I can be so bold. I have to say, first of all, I'm a bit nervous showing this work, let alone asking for critique from somebody of Valerie's standing. So he says, go easy, but I really appreciate your thoughts on both points. So first point, a critique of an image he took in Portugal. Now, all these pictures, by the way, will be on the show page. So what you're hearing Valerie talk about, you can see on the show page. It's of a man looking up and deciding, or trying to decide, what to make of the rubber ring sun canopy. He's called the image, they call it art, as I imagine that's what's going through his mind. Yeah. He's looking at this installation thing, and what
doubtful.
Devil is that? Is probably thinking, what is that? It's that look some people have when they go into an art gallery and they can't quite work out if the picture's upside down or not.
That's right. So yes, again, this would be a photograph that would work well as, in a series of photograph of that location, for example. Not one that he's going to print and put on his wall. Things to really, really be careful is distraction behind the subject, and see how close that big blue flag is next to his head. That's extremely distracting to me. That's the first thing that I saw. So always be aware. You have to do that dance that street photographers do, just a little one step to the left, one step to the right, just to make sure that your subject stands out and doesn't have distraction in the background. But it's definitely storytelling, and yes, I'm assuming that's what this gentleman is thinking about this this art installation.
Yeah, I definitely think he's got that look of I've no idea what that's about. Great shot. Lots of humour in that. I try to look for emotion, he says, or a moment, and that one word assignment connection. Street photography is so difficult, and people mention those difficult times when you're going through the motions, but don't get those special pictures. To tackle this, I hold on to the ones that I got early in my street photography, 21, 22, and I've attached some of these. Should Valérie wish to comment, I'd be interested to hear, but we're venturing into portfolio review territory. Oh, he's being he's being respectful of that, but that's okay, Scott. It's all about whenever you took the picture, recently or a couple of years ago. So do you want to? So there's 3 more pictures that do go back into when he started doing street photography. It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes when you look at stuff you did before, you're mildly happier than the latest stuff you've done. That's human nature, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and really, and every picture is a part of you at that moment. Yeah. And so the photograph should really bring you back to that moment and how you were feeling. I mean, everything, all the senses should be really vivid from looking at a photograph you took years ago even. So I really, really like the one of the downpour and the gentleman walking through the frame. You love a
rainy picture, don't you?
I love a rainy picture, especially when the rain creates such a nice filter. Yes. And then the woman out of focus in the foreground, I think that's a really beautiful photograph. Of the 4 he sent, that's by far my favorite one. I think it's aesthetically, it's appealing. I like the black and white because it removes some distractions that are not really nice, like the garbage can in the background and the truck and whatever. Those were probably bright colors, so they tend to disappear. It's unfortunate that they're there, but they tend to disappear in the black and white, and we really focus on the subject, and then that filter of the rain, which is really beautiful in front of that tree as well. So I like that. There are a lot of things that I like about this photograph. The pigeon one.
So this is outside a shop called Lauder's, and there's a lot of blue. There's a lot of blue in this picture, isn't there?
There's a lot of blue. It's a little busy to me. I think the color is a little too vibrant for my taste, but it's just you really try to isolate the subject, and by shooting from a low angle, I think that was pretty good. The idea was really good. If you shoot low and then you're at the pigeon level eating seeds on the sidewalk, shooting up, and then there is this kid that's looking at the pigeon. So the subject are the pigeon and the kids, and there is a connection between the two. All the people in the background are a bit of a distraction. However, he managed to really isolate the subject in a busy situation. I was just wondering if black and white may be better. I think he kept it in color because of the blue and also because of the seeds and the color. All that would be gray. And so I was trying to picture that in black and white. I still think we may stay on the subject a little bit longer and not be distracted by all the bright colors in the background. So
there's a lad in the background, and I don't know whether you'd have done this, but the chap that has the very
hair?
blue dyed hair, I think I'd have latched onto him and followed him. Not in a creepy, weird way, but because I'd have been thinking at some stage you are going to interact with something else blue.
That's right. Yeah, and it was right there. There's a lot more to consider when you shoot color. You know, the color has to be part of the story, and or if it's a distraction, then so you have to really, really. If you shoot both, I would really encourage you to actually make the decision before you press the shutter. Again, that's something I teach on workshops, that even if you shoot raw, you should know this is going to be a color shot or a black and white shot before you even press the shutter. That's really how you'll grow. And those are really important decisions. And that's not something that you should leave to post-processing, in my opinion. But color will always be a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So
there's one more, and that's the picture of the fairground. Now, I know it's got the stars and stripes on the side of that, but it's a very British image, this one. There's a family queuing up to get a ride on a fairground, isn't there?
5 kids.
It's five kids, and
they're like a year apart.
This is social documentary if ever there was.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this would be I've been working on a project called State Fair Moments.
Yes, you have.
And this would be definitely a photograph in my series. Those are the moments that you look for. So it's not about perfection, it's about emotion. And here, I don't know, I kind of feel for the mom, although I don't see her face, but that's a lot of kids to take care of.
Well, we don't know whether they're all hers, but I'm...
Yeah,
but
I don't know. They kind of all look alike.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Actually, yeah.
They have definitely.
I tell you what, the lad in the middle, I can tell he's a bit of a troublemaker. His face. I'm sorry, we're jumping to conclusions here. I do apologise.
So I do think this is a photograph again that works in a series. I think the one that really works by itself is the one with the rain.
Yes.
And the others would be part of a story in multiple frames to make them really strong, not necessarily on their own. So this could be, I mean, he probably took a lot of pictures at that fair, and I think this one definitely has its place.
Well, talking of fairs, thank you, by the way, for the pictures, Scott and Sam, and you will be receiving a free ebook of your choice from Valerie's website. Talking of the State Fair, every single year, now we've been speaking for a couple of years now, you say, this is possibly the last year of the project, and it never is.
I know, and last year the exhibit had to be cancelled because of federal funding, and the gallery lost its funding. So I'm not going to have the exhibit this year, and I'm cancelling all exhibits in the U.S. actually, and so I may add to the collections.
Yeah. I think it's the opportunity.
Now that I'm thinking, now I want to. It's getting harder and harder, which I love. I love the challenge. But there are series like I had a whole series on dog shows, right? Yes. And I went for the last time this time. I knew it's the first week in January. This is a big dog show in town, and I'd been there 4 years, I think, 4 times, and I knew this was the last one. I won't even go to the dog show. Next year, I'm done. It just becomes too predictable, and then it becomes boring. And I was bored this time. I got a few keepers, but I was bored. So that's when you know that a collection is done. If it becomes too predictable, too easy, then it becomes boring, and then what's the point? So I'm not there for the fair yet. I find it's getting harder, but there's so much material that I'll definitely be there this year. I'll be there no matter what.
Forward to seeing some more pictures. I know you need to go and take Luna for a walk now. I'm going to set you a challenge. I want a picture of the coldest looking person on the street you can find. It shouldn't be too hard.
Well, this week we may actually this afternoon there is a drum protest in Minneapolis. We're very creative here, and there will be 60 to 80 drum sets on the streets spread out through the city. It's going to be, again, about minus 10 centigrade, but they just did that at minus 30 or something. I don't even know how the drums handled the cold, but so I may actually stop by there this afternoon if it feels safe enough. Yeah, the situation in Minneapolis has to change. A lot of people there.
Well, I don't think I've ever signed off by saying you take care, but I know with the situation at the moment, you take care when you're out there. Get your pictures in, because Teach Me Street, we're not running too thin yet, but at some stage we will run thin on the pictures, and we want to keep going, obviously, with this. Otherwise, it's just going to be me and Valerie talking about Paris.
That's right.
Which I know you wouldn't mind. My thanks to Valerie and also to Gary Williams. As I said earlier, Gary is back for the Extra Mile, so if you can't wait until next Friday and want to walk a little bit further together, then that's what the Extra Mile is all about. Oh, it's getting a bit windy. Woo, woo, woo. I thought I'd find an Italian flavour of song to finish the show today as our play out song in a moment. And so Anthony Lazzaro will be that singer. He's an Italian musician living in Berlin who makes just this beautiful music. It sort of drifts between R&B and folk and jazz. Just gorgeous music. He's one of my favourite play-out song artists. He is a name that you may well recognise for that reason, although not necessarily this song that I'm playing today. And I will, note to self now, leave a link to his website because he has just the best portrait on the front page. Beautiful black and white portrait. If ever there was a photograph to match a voice, it is definitely this one. So Anthony Lazzaro and A Different Kind of Love in a moment. My thanks to Neil Ford, who keeps the IT ship shape around here. Somebody needs to. No easy task when you got me pressing as many buttons as I possibly can. Andrea Gilpin's our star of Instagram. Haven't been too active on Instagram of late. That will certainly be different on Me Travels, particularly in Bangladesh and India. That's for sure. Kelly Mitchell keeps Facebook in order. Kelvin Brown captains the Flickr group, and Michael Brennan curates the weekly Spotify soundtrack. So if you like what you hear, there is a Spotify playlist that you can find if you go to the show page. It'll connect you up very nicely indeed. Right, a postscript for the show. Then some beautiful jazz to drift into your lugholes as you walk a bit further and think about what's been said on the show today. I wanted to find something to go with a sub-theme earlier from Gary, really, about self-belief. Because I think starting something and seeing it through to a first milestone takes, well, a fair degree of self-belief, doesn't it? And I think this quote also says something about going into a world with curious eyes, which is something we talk about a lot here. So it'll match our wonderful adventures on the show this year to places where we're yet to go with each other. It's from Diane Arbus, an American photographer known for her stark, intimate portraits, that's for sure. She said, "I really believe there are things nobody would see if I didn't photograph them."
Another guy looking for the perfect lover, the kind of love you only see in a novel. I wasn't waiting for some shiny unicorn. I've nothing around and then you don't. But all of a sudden you're the hero of my story. I celebrate the love and only to me glory. I still remember the way this whole thing started. I was walking down the city, feeling down and broken hearted. But then I guess all roads lead to Rome. A full front collision on my way home. I cut a corner, but then we hit and crash. The crash has been the first and hasn't been the last, 'cause it's a different kind of love from any other old school dating is the boat. We are explorers, it's a different kind of love. And everyone is looking like we're crazy people just escaping from lonely. Sometimes I feel that you are from another planet. The way you attract these small disasters like a magnet. And I don't know if you are from outer space, but I can tell you, girl, I'm enjoying the race. Because I knew when we hit and crashed, my crazy love circus was here at last. This is romantic in a very funny way. I know our kind of love is the one made to stay, 'cause it's a different kind of love from any other old school dating is a bore. We are explorers, it's a different kind of love. And everyone is looking like we're crazy people just escaping from the lonely. The way that you talk, the way that you move. You make fun of me while I make fun of you. But we always fit, precise as a glove. I really enjoy a different kind of love. Oh, oh, a different kind of love. A different kind of love. A different kind of love.
The Photo Walk is a Loading Zone production.